Lake Placid, New York, and a snowy day. A winter storm warning in effect till 4 p.m., and we are right in the heart of Winter Storm Electra. But that's all right. We've had some delays. We'll talk about that in a minute, but glad to have you along. It is the women's skeleton one and only run after a delay. I'm Nick Gismondi alongside Bree Shaw. Bree, let's take a look at this track, and then we'll talk about the delays it caused.
Here we have Lake Placid, one of the toughest tracks in the world. What makes it so tough, most tracks are about a mile long. Lake Placid packs about 20 turns in that, which means that you are just transitioning so fast, turn to turn. Here we head into turn one. You can see the sled a little bit closer on the right. We'll talk about that more later. You want to go in on the left wall, nice and parallel. Looking into turn two here, you want to get it off enough to banana back over onto turn three, and here you hammer it down. That's a really hard left, and you slam the left wall if you don't catch enough pressure in there. Down into the Devil's Highway. This is a section of the track where on a skeleton sled, you come out and say, what happened? Now you're starting to breathe again as you come into 9, and the big shady 2. This is a turn you really don't have to do much. Very subtle, but in the right spot. Down into 11 and 12, you're going to see a lot of air caught on the end of that turn. A lot of problems there this week. Coming down into Benham's Bend. Chicanes, the not so straight away on into one of the finish curves, turn 17. You'll see people double oscillating there, catching more pressure on then 18. The finish curve 19 that's uphill, and watch for a big hit left out of there if they didn't steer the pressure correct.
A 9.8% grade. About 20 turns, as Bree said, and a max G-force of around 5.1. That is whipping you around. You're getting a look at the finish line right now. 6 inches of snow fell overnight, and it will continue throughout most of the day. The temperature, though, has warmed up as you get a look at the World Cup standings right now. It's 20 degrees outside. Elizabeth Yarnold is at the top of the World Cup standings, but keep an eye out for that number 6 position. That is Noelle Picus-Pace. She's got 450 points, but that is with a disqualification early on in the season. You put that or take that out of the factor, she's in really good shape right now.
I mean, what is that after 2 races and sitting in 6th position in world standings? That's incredible.
Temperature outside, we told you, was a little bit warmer, a balmy 20 right now, and even though it feels like it is around 12, winds are coming out of the north at around 10 to 15 miles per hour, another 3 to 5 inches expected. So this is the start list for run 1, but there is only one run now. The first run essentially canceled, so run 1 becomes run 2 because of an issue at the start. Let's talk a little bit about what was happening.
Right, we saw sled after sled on the forerunners. I don't know if we talked about forerunning before. We send sleds down before a race to check the ice, make sure there's nothing in the track, make sure everything is okay and that the timing is all, the Swiss timing is all working correctly. But you also have to check the groove, and for skeleton, it can be really touchy. The groove was kicking hard to the right, just forerunner after forerunner, so we had to take a lot of time to get that fixed.
Katharina Heinz is at the top, the German. She will be going first. Let me ask you this. With a delay this heavy and with now 1 run determining gold, you obviously have to be perfect, but how else does that affect the mentality and the strategy?
Well, the fact that you've been sitting up there waiting now for that long, you're waiting to go, you have all the adrenaline ready for heat 1, and then it's that letdown like someone pulled Christmas away. You know, you're getting amped up, ready to rock, and then, sit there. So you see she managed that groove perfect. The track crew did a great job getting that fixed up. But now, not only that, but the second start time, you know, would have been at the same time as heat 2. So essentially, I was talking to Noelle, and she's pretending right now that this is just her second heat, and you have to go do another warm-up to get ready to go again.
So Katharina Heinz, maybe a bit of an advantage here getting to go first now.
Yes, and its start order is big, especially when there's a weather system moving in. Not as big of a deal in Lake Placid because it's a covered track, but if there's high winds, which we've seen bouts of, that can accumulate some snow on the track and slow down the sleds that are later. So she really does have a great start number for this race.
Heinz, the 26-year-old, has been sliding since 2003, on course right now and underway after an hour-and-a-half delay here because of the track in Lake Placid. Good pace, and she will come across the finish and throw down a time of 57:34 to kick things off.
I have a sneaking suspicion that's not going to keep her in the top, but we'll just have to see. You never know. With sliding sports, you know, it's very much reflects the weather and the ice temp and conditions, so the track is different every day. When people ask me, what's the fastest you've ever gone? I always say, well, it's just relative to the track that day. Here we see her coming through the chicanes. Watch, really, this sounds inappropriate, but you want to watch for the jiggle of the athletes because that shows how relaxed they are on their sled.
So Katarina Hines, she is coming up the track there after her finish, a 57.34 for her to kick things off. We'll send you back up now to the top of the track. This is Shelley Rudman, also from Germany, or excuse me, Great Britain. She will be our next athlete to go, the 32-year-old, silver in turn. The Olympic Games there. That was Great Britain's only medal at those games, and now the reigning world champ who lives in Sheffield is on course.
You can see that toe. You're going to see that a lot. It's hard because you watch the foreigners as an athlete when you're preparing for a race. You always go out, check out, see what the groove is doing, and in anticipation of it kicking right, you saw her left foot come out there.
The reigning world champ ahead right now by 26 hundredths in front of Hines. Expect a good time here from her. How does this early start time help her, knowing her experience on this track?
You know, I mean, when you've been waiting and waiting and waiting, it's definitely good to have an earlier start time. It's gonna just, at this point, the girls just want to get this done. They want to get through the race.
Rudman ahead by 27 hundredths now.
See her a slight bit of instability going through chicane, but she managed it just fine.
All right, and Rudman around the corner here. She will come across the line and into the lead, no surprise, a 57.21. Shelley Rudman currently sitting in first with a 57.21. No surprise there, the reigning world champ.
She did fall back off the pace a little bit. She was ahead. Her start obviously had her farther ahead, but the Germans are known for their driving skill. Now watch her left foot as she comes out. And you see in skeleton, you can steer with every part of your body. The sleds do have flex left and right, which allows you to push the spine of the runner on the back to steer the sled, but you can also lean your head, drop a toe. So many ways to steer a skeleton sled, and the more subtle, the better.
Of Australia.
So Rudman is your leader with that 57.21. Lucy Schaefer is back now at the top.
Sled and track from start one. Again, we have Lucy Schaefer in track.
Lucy Schaefer just coming out of the starting gate here. Welcome back inside Lake Placid. The first and final run for the ladies in the skeleton here. Schaefer, the 30-year-old who used to play water polo. She nearly missed the 2010 Olympic Games, so she is definitely eyeing Sochi, and she is chasing down the reigning world champ Rudman right now. The time to beat a 57.21, Bree.
I wonder how tired she is of the fish out of water joke. You can see her a little bit low there through shady. You want a nice round line, but her exit is great. Look for early height. Nails, turn 12. That is how it's done.
Behind a bit here, though, 5100's back. And into the finish line, she will finish 6500's back, going about 68 miles an hour. She will sit in third place right now.
That's a tough place to be, because if she's going to come up and ask her coach what happened, you know, as a coach, you're going to go, "Ooh, you looked good," and that's heartbreaking as an athlete, thinking, okay, I couldn't have driven any better. Why did I go slow?
Once again, we'll remind all of our
Here's a look at the start. This was the factor and the reason for the delay earlier, the grooves. Let's see how she comes out here of the exit.
So notice she chose the left groove, and you saw it shimmy her a little bit. So that left groove is actually kicking left, and you see her bending her body trying to get the sled straight so she doesn't hit going into turn one.
All right, attention, clear the track.
All right, now back up to the top. Noelle Pace, who has been fantastic this season. A disqualification early on that some will debate about for, I am guessing, years to come.
I'm going to say some will regret for years to come, as this has fired her up like no other. They have no idea the beast that they have released in Noelle Pace.
She has overcome before. She knows what she's doing after a terrible accident in 05 in Calgary when a bobsled broke her leg.
I was there for that while I was doing skeleton, and it was horrific.
Yeah, she rallied back. She's a fighter, so a little bit of adversity is no problem for her. She was 4th in Vancouver, and her sled was actually designed by her husband. Let's see what the 31-year-old has here. Behind a little bit right now. 800's back.
It is very much a team sport for her and her husband. She was just telling me that, you know, every decision in skeleton, it goes through him. They are a team, and for an individual sport, I think that's a huge asset.
Now she's ahead. 600s finally jumps into the lead right there, behind for 3 splits. Now she's out in front. It's going about 71 miles an hour, the fastest we've seen so far. Let's see if she can carry that speed through the bottom here, through the chicane, into the finish. And across the line, 49 hundredths ahead. So Noelle Pikus Pace, the American, will jump into the lead. No stranger to adversity is she.
The United States of America with a 56.72 downtime, putting her in first place. Again, this is a 1 heat race.
Noelle Pikus Pace, she throws the arms up in the air as the snow continues to fall here in Lake Placid, but a high five from her coach and a good run for her.
This is turn 14, and she was just telling me that she talked to her coach, Zach Lund, about 14. They were trying to figure out she'd had trouble there all week, so he gave her a suggestion, and she said, well, if I win, I'll congratulate you, and if I lose, then I'll blame you. This is an interesting race to call because, you know, if it's a regular 2-heat race, we're calling the winner. Now we may have seen a winning run, but now we have to wait.
Noelle just walked past our broadcast position, and we got the same arms up in the air.
The big shoulder stroke. Well.
Good start record, 5.24.
Back in Lake Placid and a track record at the start for Elena Nikitina, the Russian. Glad to have you here in Lake Placid. The snow is falling. We'll update you on the weather shortly, but Nick Viessmann alongside Bree Schaaf, and a great run here from the Russian right now.
Wow, she's got a lot of time to work with. It's going to be really interesting to see this. This is ideal conditions at the start. It's warmed up significantly.
Nikitina medaled in Calgary in the first race, but did not make the cut here in Lake Placid in the first women's races. And right now, she's fallen off the pace substantially, 6,500 hundredths after literally rocketing out of the start.
You saw her late entry into 17, a lot of height on end. She'd had trouble in Benham's Bend, which has made her chicane a little bit sloppy.
And across the line, she will finish quite far back off the pace. She will be now in 5th after it looked like she might challenge for something here.
She does not like this track, and it's crazy how that really translates into how you slide. You need to be one with your sled and relaxed on your sled, and if you don't like a track, you're going to be fighting the force and not flowing.
She went with the right groove. Let's see how she comes out of it there.
Little tap, but then she corrected it too much. Tiny, tiny skid there going into turn 1, but she is a big hope for the Russian team going into the Olympics. A tap, that means that's going to put her late onto this turn, and you can see her correcting it with her feet.
So a little bit behind was she after a very good start. So Noelle Pikus Pace remains as your leader for the U.S. with that 56.72. You see the standings right there. Rudman, the reigning world champ, is in 2nd. And the German Sliner Katharina Heinz is sitting in 3rd. This is Sarah Reed of Canada.
This is interesting to see. It's a Canadian on a Bromley sled. Typically, Canada in the past has been very much a Davenport sled country, as he's a Canadian sled maker.
Ahead by 23 hundredths is Reed right now 27 hundredths.
Reed has so much potential on this track. She's had a lot of success, but just struggled a little bit the other day. You need to put 2 clean runs in at this level.
17 hundredths ahead now.
Really late in the 12, not as much of a problem. You know what we could be seeing here? The other day, we saw everyone flying off the end of 12, but in fact, it has warmed up so much that chances are athletes are putting on their super control runners and maybe have too much control now, which is going to cut a lot of ice and can slow you down.
Now she's back in the count now by 100th and will finish 56 hundredths back. So Noelle, who might be standing in the winner's box for some time now.
She just put on a parka.
Finds herself out in the lead right now, continuing with that 5.6.72. Here's another look at the start for the Canadian Sarah Reed.
And here you see the sled kicking left and really trying to avoid that turn one. It's hard because when you're preparing for a race, you are calmly trying to go through every line and every spot on the track. But then if there's anxiety at the start, it makes it harder to stay focused.
So Sarah Reed is now in third place as we go back up to the top for the German slider, Marion Thies. She knows this track. Had a gold in the World Championships here in 2009, had another in 2011 in terms of World Champs gold.
Marion is an incredible driver. The key for her now is going to be recognizing that the ice is a bit warmer than when they were on it 2 days ago and not to overdrive. Ooh, really kicked left. Straightening it out fine, but you just, the less work, the better in skeleton.
She's about a 1/10 of a second off the pace there as Marion.
Behind by 1200ths.
You're gonna see that hit left from every slider out of turn 3. Hard bank. You need to take that tap because it's inevitable and it's gonna set you up nicely on a turn 4 as long as you avoid a skid. Beautiful round line and shady too.
2400ths back. 29-year-old who was 8 at the 2010 Olympic Games is looking to improve on that. He had Sochi. She comes down hard now into the finish. 2800ths back around this final little bend here. I don't know if she's going to make up the time. It's going to be difficult. And to the finish she will go and into second. So Noelle Picus Pace remains your leader. Marion Thies slides herself into second place behind Picus Pace. Take a look back at her run and see where she picked up a little bit of time, but then lost it at the bottom.
You can see Marion loading the sled early, knowing the start is not her forte. She is going to maximize as much speed as there is to be found in a track.
Then this afternoon at 1 o'clock, the scheduled start of the 4-minute bobsled race.
All right, attention, clear the track. The track is now clear for the finish to start 1 for Elizabeth Yarnold.
Back up top, you see Elizabeth Yarnold from Great Britain, the World Cup leader.
A little shoulder roll there. It might have looked like a dance, but that was actually just probably a little steer rehearsal. Some athletes steer with their feet, some their knees, some their shoulders.
6 start time. It's a 5.26.
The World Cup leader Elizabeth Yarnold is on course now here in Lake Placid. No stranger to this track is she. She took a bronze medal here at the World Champs back in 2012.
Who's down below in the lead?
She's 5/10 ahead of Noelle right now. She could be the only one to challenge Noelle in this race, and she's gaining time.
Yarnold from Great Britain, 5,700ths ahead right now. Comes down a little high on that one. Does she lose a little time? She does. She's going slower than Noelle went, 70.9 miles an hour, but she's 5,500ths ahead right now at that 4 split.
That is a lot of time she's got. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens at the bottom.
To the finish she goes, and into first. So Yarnold will overtake the lead and move ahead of Noelle Picus Pace, the current World Cup leader, showing a little bit of her dominance right here as she moves into first. And this is where only having one run becomes a bit of a problem for someone like Noelle.
Yes, super, super frustrating because you don't know what the track's doing. A lot of people are just getting situated after one run. You see her coming out of Benham's Bend there, turn 14. She hits right. Not a super clean run. She had to work pretty hard in 12. Speed 114.1. Didn't have the speed of Noelle, but her start just had her so far ahead that she wasn't going to lose too much time.
Finish to start 1 for Anya Huber of
Whoever you are, Swifty, happy birthday.
Here's another British skeleton slider.
My fellow athlete. And
Anya Huber from Germany up top.
Let's go, let's go.
Anya's another one that can really challenge Noelle. She came from luge, has been sliding a long time, and is a luge athlete that just happens to be incredibly fast.
Bronze at the 2010 Olympic Games in Vancouver. She was 8th at the Turin Games. Gold at the World Champs in 08 as well. And as you said, been sliding since 2003, currently 2nd right now in the overall World Cup standings with 562 points behind Yarnold.
Now watch as she comes down. You'll see in these shots great camera angles where you can see how relaxed she is on her sled. You want to see her flowing shoulders down. Anytime you get anxious, your tendency in skeleton is to look up and try and see more, but that stiffens you up, and it also makes it, oh, big hit out of Shady. Skid trying to correct it. That's going to cost some time. 71/100ths back.
Yeah, she lost a lot right there. She is back in this one, going about 68 miles an hour. Some of the slowest we've seen. Her start time was all right. 5:48 push for her, but she will not overtake the lead. So it looks as though Yarnold will remain your leader. Noelle Pace is safely still in 2nd.
Very disappointing. Anya did great in the race, the first race of the weekend, but she knows how well she can do on this track, and she's going to be very frustrated with that. And a lot of that is what we saw as her exit of Shady. That's the big turn that says Lake Placid through the middle. You do not have to do much through there. She's got a beautiful high line, but if you start your exit too soon, you catch pressure, and then you see her, she gets more pressure on the end, and that really, it took the sled off its course. And it's the bunk hitting, but it's always a shoulder to follow, so she's gonna have a bit of a bruise on that left shoulder.
Back up at the top, Michelle Steele from Australia.
Her start time, 5.38. So she's 12/100ths of a second behind the pace at this point.
28-year-old Michelle Steele from Australia on course right now, chasing down the time of Elizabeth Yarnold, the 56.27. Behind in the count right now is she, though, 2300ths back. The gymnast and surfer trying to come up with some time here, Bree, but struggling a little on the lower portion, now losing time, 3400ths back.
Yeah, a little bit low through Shady there, but getting a great line crossing from 11 to 12. A little high, not the direct pass that we saw on the first few girls going, but of course, unlike normal second heat, we're seeing all of the best at the start of the race.
These turns now down 4900ths across the line, and she will move into the 4th spot. So it is Yarnold, Pace, Thies, and now Steele who moves into the 4th position. Rudman, the reigning world champ, is down in the 5th spot for Great Britain.
Here we see her entering turn 12. She had a good entrance, but maybe just misses that steer, flies off the end a little bit, but right back in position.
Well, the weather in Lake Placid subsiding a little bit now. The flags aren't blowing and the snow is tapering off. They are expecting around 3 to 5 more inches at some point today, but for now, the weather here from Winter Storm Electra holding tight.
The storm has a name.
It does have a name.
Wow.
They named it. I didn't know they did that here.
That's when you know you have made it as a storm.
I was hanging out yesterday and I saw that they called it Electra.
That's a good name.
It is a good name for a winter storm.
Super, like it would have some superhero outfit.
I was hoping for Shock, Winter Storm Shock.
Yeah. Storm over now.
You know you've made it if there's a winter storm named after you.
Or a rule in a sliding sport, meaning that you've done something so awesome or so bad that a rule has to change.
Marina Gillardoni from Switzerland is on course right now. We are about midway through this first and final heat. Good start for her, puts her a 10th ahead, but she will fall back with the count now a little bit here on this next split.
She was very happy with her finish the other day. She's new to skeleton, came from bobsled. I remember her as Sabina Hafner's brakeman for the Swiss bobsled team, and you know, a little bit small. It's hard if you're fast, but you still, size is important in bobsled, so they switched her to skeleton, and she's doing a great job. Her start, of course, is her greatest asset.
3,300ths back now is Gillardoni. That would put her in 11th if it ended here, going about 70 miles an hour, chasing down that time of Yarnold, You see from Great Britain there, Yarnold overtook Picus Pace's time and is your leader. Now it is Gillardoni to the finish and across the line, 6,900s back in third. A good run for Marina Gillardoni, who currently sits in third place with that 5.696, jumps ahead of Thies, Steele, and the reigning world champ Rudman.
As I was saying, she is so new, and this is incredible. She is going to be ecstatic.
All right, back up top now. Janine Flock from Austria. 12th in World Cup points. The 24-year-old got started in this sport when she was young, just 14 years old.
That's so rare. I remember her from when I was sliding, and she was a kid doing junior skeleton, and I thought, junior skeleton? They have that in Austria, but in Eagles, it's an easy enough track that maybe there aren't, I don't know, lawsuits from parents that actually sign that waiver and allow their children to bomb it off the top of a hill on a cookie sheet. It
was incredible. I was talking with someone yesterday in town here in Lake Placid, and her 12-year-old son is actually getting into luge. They actually go from start 3 here in Lake Placid.
Luge has to start very young because that is so technical and takes so much more years of experience. They can precisely steer every turn, maximize the speed, but that means they can also get themselves in big trouble. You have a lot of kids running around Lake Placid learning luge, sometimes as early as 9 years old.
I've gone down this luge track. I only went from start 5. I'm a little dismayed that a 12-year-old started higher than me.
Luge.
I've done luge.
I have not done luge. That terrifies me.
Give it a shot.
Oh, no thanks.
You do luge, don't try skeleton.
No. But you're still going to try skeleton.
Lock on course right now. She is trying. 2,900s back, now 3,300s back, going about 70 miles an hour. I definitely will try it. Down she goes. Flock trying to make something happen here. Made her Euro Cup debut at 16. Several top 10 finishes at that age, so she knows how to slide, and she comes across here down in the count, but moves into second with that time, overtaking Picus Pace. Well, it is going to be an interesting run here in Lake Placid because you really can't decide who's going to take the lead. This is Janine Flock, the 24-year-old from Austria, who during the break laid down a good run and overtook second place, bumping American Picus Pace down into third.
The question is, was that the run of her life, or is the track getting faster? This is very unusual. In skeleton, you have the suspects that are always finishing top, and to have someone come up from a 12th ranking and be in medal position, that could question this race, and who knows if the jury's going to decide to toss this.
Yeah, so Robin Thompson now from Canada is next to go. Let's reset you on exactly what's happening if you've just joined us. There was a severe delay at the start of this, an hour-and-a-half delay. You are seeing the start order for what was run number 1 for the ladies in the skeleton today. As a result, some of the bigger names might not be on the podium because this ice is getting faster as these athletes are going.
Yeah, temperatures are warming up, and the problem is when you have brittle, super cold ice, it's actually a little bit stickier, a little slower. And as it's warming up, you're going to get a little bit more of a sheen, more sleds are going down, the track is quickening.
The delay this morning was not due to weather per se. Lake Placid did take on 6 inches of snow overnight. Snow is continuing to fall here. 3 to 5 more inches of accumulation expected today, but it was with the grooves and the exit of the grooves at the start, which is completely covered. That was the problem and the cause of the delay. Right now, Thompson on course from Canada, behind in the count by over a second, going 68 miles an hour. She will not threaten the top, but what we did see happen was that Noelle Picus Pace was 4th out of the gate. If this was the second run, a run for the medals per se, you would see her going much later. Faster times, quicker track. So Picus Pace found herself on top of the podium and then was bumped off by Yarnold and now bumped further down by the time of Flock.
Which is why they have a reverse order from slowest to fastest on second heat that tends to buffer out any sort of track conditions that might have affected the top-down start order.
So it is going to be a very interesting day of racing here in Lake Placid, and we will just have to see how it plays off as we go back up top for Maria Orlova of Russia.
can see Willie Schneider, former skeleton coach for Canada, as well as the U.S., holding her sled. So the athlete, they do that so the athlete can get ready. When it's super fast up there, the sled's going to take off on its own.
Yarnold with the time to beat right now, the 56.27. She is the World Cup leader. Not a surprise to see her up near the podium, nor is it a surprise to see Pikus pace in that third. Potentially a bit of a surprise to see Flock sitting in the second spot at the moment.
Right, still to be determined if it was the run of a lifetime or track conditions.
Orlova, 3,700s back.
Now you're going to hear a strange sound while she's going down. You hear that as she's going through shady. That is her helmet just scraping on the ice. When you hit pressure in these turns, if you don't have a strong enough neck, or depending on if you have a huge head like I do, your face is going to drag when you hit any sort of G-force.
5.1, the max G-forces that these athletes are experiencing on this difficult track with a 9.8% grade. It is technically very difficult, and across the line, Orlova moves into 11th. Yarnold, your leader. Pikus pace in third. Maria Orlova, a 57.51 for her. A respectable time, puts her right around just off the middle of the pack.
Looking at that beautiful shot through the Lake Placid shady too. You see her head is buried. Notice that we are not seeing any bit of her visor until the end of the turn when the pressure releases, and then she actually comes up a bit, because if you're fighting that pressure the whole turn and you're not anticipating the exact release, and you're going to pop up a little bit on your sled.
Back up now at the top, this is Catherine Oosthuis of New Zealand, 15th currently right now in the overall World Cup standings.
She had a great race here the other day. I know she's looking to better that, and who knows, if the track is speeding up, we could see her pop up into the top 6 easily.
And that is the thing about this race now today, having only one. It is for the medals, and it is a interesting dynamic, to say the least. You notice there at the start, really, truly the simplicity of these sleds.
Start 5.45, so she starts her run in red numbers. She's got to make up some time again.
1900s back, definitely has some time to make up.
This is another nation that needs specific top finishes in order to make the games.
About 0.4 of a second off the pace.
Still behind the pace of Olympic Yarnold.
Catherine Oosthuis from New Zealand is on course right now. She is 4,900s back at the third split. Yarnold is your leader. Flock is in second, and Noelle Pikus pace is currently sitting in third. Nothing changed while you were away.
Different nations have different qualifications for the Olympics. If she finishes top 14, this will be her second top 14, qualifying her for the Olympic Games already here in Lake Placid.
She's got to make up some time, and she does it. Yeah, moves into 6th. That last split had her off of that mark. She was down in 15th, so 6th place in the overall here, but a big win for her as she punches her ticket.
Huge. I mean, not only another fantastic finish, another finish of her life, but going to the Olympic Games. Now she can relax and focus the rest of the season, really get ready and into battle mode and not wonder, am I going to the Olympics or not?
Our congrats out to Catherine Oosthuis, who punches her ticket to the Sochi Games for New Zealand with a great run that puts her in 6th.
Just playing it cool. She knew the whole time.
No big deal. Back at the top now, this is the American, Katie Ulander.
See Katie getting herself amped up. She has struggled lately, had a head injury earlier this year in the preseason, and really been battling back from that. I know a lot of it is confidence gets hurt after that. You can't train like you normally do. Katie is a weightlifter and one of the strongest skeleton athletes on tour, and you know that's her routine. And when you get taken out of your routine, it's hard.
5.55 start.
29-year-old is 5'3", Vail, Colorado native.
Katie used to have the start record here. I mean, that has always been her forte with how athletic she is, and that's one thing that is definitely holding her back, that inability to train from the concussion, and now just struggling to come back physically as well as mentally.
She does know this course, though. Gold here at the 2012 World Championships on this track in Lake Placid. Been sliding since 2003. She comes from an athletic background. Her dad was MLB baseball player, and then later on a manager. She knows competition, and she is a absolute fierce competitor. Right now, back in the count by 4,300s, traveling at about 70 miles an hour.
We saw her fiercely battling a skid there through the chicanes. You saw her shoulders come up, 9,100s back, sitting in 8th. Not bad, actually better than her finishes so far this season.
So Eulander currently sitting in 8th. She will shake her head and not be happy with that, but a little bit of a shoulder shrug from her. She's just trying to get it back here.
Katie's a winner, and anytime a winner is experiencing something like this, it really puts you to the test. Watch as she comes to the chicane. She's got her left foot out because she knows she's about to blow up that right wall. She saves that, but the problem is now you can see how tense she is. She's up high off her sled, and that's going to break the sled into a skid.
Comes out on her just a little bit right there, and Katie Eulander will currently sit in that 8th spot. Yarnold remains your leader. Flock is currently sitting in 2nd, a bit of a surprise there, and Picus Pace is down in 3rd as you get a look at the standings as they are here through 16 sliders. As we go back up top now for the Canadian, this is Melissa Hollingsworth, the 33-year-old, earned bronze at the 2006 Olympics in Turin.
Hollingsworth is someone who could really shake this up right now. She was sitting in 3rd place, I believe, after the first heat in the race the other day. That hit out of the groove is not going to help, though. We've talked a lot about how important the velocity is coming out of the start. If you take a hit when the track is that slow at the top, it's really going to make it hard to multiply your velocity and find speed down the track. But if anyone can do it, it's someone as experienced as Hollingsworth.
Yeah, it's the 8th fastest start for her, a 5.42. She's normally a great starter. In fact, was in contention for a medal at the Vancouver Games and ended up finishing in 5th. She had a fantastic start, but she tends to trail off a little bit towards the bottom, and we're seeing that here a little as well. She went from 1,600s up to 45, now to 53, now to 6,200s back behind the lead.
And when you're seeing that kind of tendency, you're not going to see someone coming back. Because if it's very consistent, that's something that's either their equipment or their start not going to come back. All
right, so Hollingsworth coming across the line. She won't challenge for the top, finishes in 7th. Yarnold is your leader. So Melissa Hollingsworth of Canada finishes in that 7th position right now, but the story continues to be what's happening at the top. Yarnold, no surprise. Janine Flock from Austria, 24 years old, bit of a surprise. Noelle Picus Pace sitting in 3rd right now.
You can see that tap Hollingsworth took into turn 1. That could be what started that, that bleeding down the track where you see slow loss of time that seemingly is unexplainable.
Litsnina is on course right now. The Russian going 18th. We're coming to the end of our sliders here in this one. Yarnold is your leader. Flock is in 2nd. Picus Pace is in 3rd. 8 different countries, 8 different spots at the top. That is either showing us the diversity of this track, the complications of this day, or the diversity of the sport. You choose, Brescia.
And I will tell you, that is what can be so maddening about skeletons. Sometimes you think, I have the best equipment, I have the start, sometimes you're at a loss as to what on earth is going on. But it is fun to see a race like this with a huge shakeup. It's a little bit boring when you've got the usual suspects on top.
Well, it's definitely a shakeup. An hour-and-a-half delay to get this one kicked off, and only one run in a complicated order. Patti Litsina actually tries to make a go for it right there to knock Picus Pace off, but will fall just a bit short. She sits in 4th with a start time of 5:38 and a 56:90 run. Yarnold, your leader. Flock in 2nd. Picus Pace in 3rd.
What's incredible to note is that there's 9 different countries on top of the leaderboard. Usually you see your strong nations kind of filling the ranks up there, and this is really all over the shop. Just very excited with her finish.
This is a very strange day for skeletons.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now,
she's sitting, she started in what position? 18th position, and now she's sitting in 4th place?
Yes. That is correct.
There's a reason for that excitement.
Donna Crichton from Great Britain is back up top, the 28-year-old. Let's see what she can do.
Donna is an incredible athlete. I slid with her on Europa Cup back in the day, and she is a great starter. And now she has a chance to put down a run.
There are 5 sliders left right now. Some surprises. Let's see if that trend continues. Oh, these grooves at the start were the reason for the delay earlier. Let's see what happens here. She comes out of that all right.
Yeah, tough to see there. She may have gotten onto turn 1 a little bit early. Also to note is you'll see a little bit of wobble at the very beginning in those grooves. There's been some conspiracy theory about the grooves here, but actually with 2 bobsled races yesterday, a bobsled runner is much thicker than a skeleton runner, and it can widen out those grooves and make it tougher on a skeleton. You're going to pop the groove easier.
The one thing also that we saw that might have played a little bit of part is a big temperature swing.
Yes.
It is snowing. There is a winter storm warning in effect here in Lake Placid, but the temperature has actually jumped up by about 30 degrees from what we had Friday and what we had yesterday, Saturday. So temperature playing a role. The bobsleds yesterday were chattering big time into the finish.
So cold. And we did see, I mean, there is a little bit of thermal inertia coming from the night before. When it's that cold, the ice doesn't warm up as quick as the air warms up, but it is going to be different. And who knows with runner choice, if you're anticipating super cold ice, you may have put on the wrong runners today. All
right, so almost a second behind is Crichton. She currently sits in 10th, 57.18. Not a great run for her. The lead remains with Elizabeth Yarnold from Great Britain. Flock in second and Picus Pace in third. As we now have about 4 competitors left. Here's another look at the start.
Here you can see the sled wobbling a bit in that groove. I thought as she came over the crest that she was going to pop it, but she was just fine. It's going to be tough to say if every sled at the bottom was starting to beat the top people, then you're going to cancel a race. But we're just seeing random people, and that was very offensive. But you know, some people popping up into the higher ranks.
Not offensive, honest. Leldi Pridolina from Latvia. There's a reason the start orders are done the way they're done and why there are 2 runs in these situations. It is about track feel. It is about going at the right time because of the conditions at the time of day. There's a science to it.
And you earn that right.
And you earn that.
You earn the right to be in the top 10 draw. And so it's this is such a huge shakeup, you know, all around for the day.
And we'll see how it plays out. Right now, it is Pridolina on course. She is behind the time at the moment, 7,200s back early.
I believe she is the only female Latvian slider in all of bobsled and skeleton. I've yet to ever see a Latvian women's bobsled team, and she is the first and only Latvian skeleton female athlete I've ever seen. Ooh, big hit out of 12. Did not get on early enough and did that usual typical flying off the top of the turn.
A little carnage flying off the sled right there. Piece of tape or something, nothing important. And Pridolina coming across the line here. She will not overtake the lead. It is Yarnold who still is in front.
So Pridolina from Latvia.
So currently sitting in the 20th spot of 20 sliders, a 58.40 for Pridolina.
Here we watch her entry into turn 12. You can see she was headed in late, flying off the end, and here she's avoiding the hit, knows it's coming, and then the piece of tape that flies off the sled. There's, you know, the skeleton sled, all in all, really is quite simple, but you need high quality tape that holds in the specific padding and how each athlete likes to keep their sled. It's got to be smooth, it's got to be aerodynamic.
Dialed in. You're looking at the current rankings right now. Great Britain's Yarnold in front. Flock in second, and Noelle Picus Pace is sitting in third. This is Nozumi Komura from Japan, 28-year-old, sliding since 2005. Fourth at a World Cup in Lake Placid back in 2010. She knows this track. She qualified for the 2010 games, but she DQ'd because her sled wasn't compliant.
That is, it's so heartbreaking to see things like that. I remember being there and hearing about it, and I believe it was maybe something to do with her runner guards on too long in the Parc Fermé, which is where they have a certain amount of time that all the sleds have to be at the start where no one can touch them, so the runners get to ice temp and all the jury can take a look and make sure everything is up to spec. Well, she had the protecting guards on her runners and didn't take them off in time, DQ'd at the Olympic Games.
Tragic end for her and that bid, trying to make up for it here in this Olympic year and seeing if she can't do something maybe in Sochi, a mistake she most certainly won't make again. Elizabeth Yarnold, your leader right now. You just seeing the very end of the run by Nozumi Komura from Japan. She currently sits in 19th with that time right there. The American Noelle Pikes-Pace is in third. Janine Flock is sitting in second. Katie Eulander, the other American, is down in 10th, as we have just a few riders left to go, 2 to be exact, and then it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm looking forward to the comments in the finish area. Our John Morgan will be down there talking to the winners and getting their opinion, and we will weigh in as well on the events of today. But Elizabeth Yarnold with that time of 56.27 is your current leader. This is Joska Lecante from the Netherlands.
I'm excited for this town meeting you're talking about. If anyone's going to get the truth out of them at the bottom, it's going to be John Morgan.
John Morgan will ask the hard questions coming up shortly. You don't want to miss that. Lecante on course now, back 2700s early on. The time right now to beat is Yarnold's at 56.27. It is the only time that matters at this moment because there is only one run.
You're watching her head into Shady 2. Listen to the sound of her helmet scraping on the ice. It's a difficult sport enough, but if you cannot see where you're going, makes the learning curve a bit different because then you're having to feel your way down the track. You just from run after run and repetition, you know when the pressure is coming and you learn to anticipate it and steer where you need to, and then really hope on the exit that you didn't mess it up.
Back over a second. Now 2, so 2:07 will put Lecante down in the 21st of 22 spots. She sits with that 58.34, and there is one slider left to go. We will go back up to the top for that, but first let's take a look back at Lecante's run, beginning with her start.
We're heading into curve 4 and down into the Devil's Highway, the trickier part of the track. And I'll tell you, if you are a head dragger like Joska is, you're not seeing any of this. You're barely getting a peek because those transitions are so short in Lake Placid, where we pack 20 turns into just a mile of track.
Takako Umukai from Japan is going next. She is 22nd in World Cup points. And our final slider to go here on the first and only run for the ladies.
Japan is considered a smaller nation in sliding sports, but they do in fact have their own bobsled track from the Nagano Olympics. I've had the opportunity to compete on that track in Skeleton, and I'll tell you, that is one of the most fun trips I've taken in my competitive career. Wonderful culture, so much fun there.
So about a quarter of a second off the pace now. You can see she's just...
She is 2300ths back. Losing time, 5700ths back as well. Whoa, coming in a little high there.
And that's what we saw. You can hear her face dragging, and then you saw her head come up as she's trying to figure out where she is between each turn. Coming out of Shady 2, not too bad. You can see that the track, there has been a lot of traffic here this weekend. 7 races in one World Cup stop as we're trying to make up spots from having 7 tracks, 8 races to complete the World Cup qualifications going into the Olympic Games. So holding double races for each sport in successive tracks.
And across the finish line will be, just a little over a second back to sit in 20th. So that basically seals the deal and finalizes your podium. Yarnold will come away with the gold. The current World Cup leader racks up some more points. The surprise, though, is Janine Flock, the 24-year-old who got started in this sport at a very young age, finds silver in the hills of the Adirondacks in Lake Placid. And Noelle Picus-Pace finishes for the U.S. in third with the bronze. That is Elizabeth Yarnold right there. A smile and a wave as she comes away with a victory, and a nice job by Elizabeth Yarnold. Let's take a look back at her run, the one that won it for her. The 25-year-old Elizabeth Yarnold finds gold here in the hills of the Adirondacks.
With a start like she had, it made it really hard on Noelle, especially then having to sit and watch this incredible run by Yarnold as she maintains that lead all the way down the track.
A fist bump for the 2012 world bronze medalist right here in Lake Placid, and she finds a way to win again, and she does it nicely in Lake Placid on a warmer but still cold day in the midst of Winter Storm Electra. So Elizabeth Yarnold comes away as your winner. Janine Flock of Austria finishes in second with the silver, and Noelle Picus-Pace of the United States finishes with bronze. Melissa Hollingsworth of Canada down in the 8th spot. Donna Crichton of Great Britain finishes in 10th, and the other American, Katie Eulander finishes in 10th as well, a tie.
Katie, still one of her better finishes so far this year, but she's still not going to be happy with that. She is a competitor, one of the fiercest competitors I've ever met, and just done such a good job over her entire skeleton career. You know, really had a lot of up and downs with injury, and for her, this is really tough.
So after an hour and a half delay, one run is done and gold medals awarded. Back with more after this. God. Back in Lake Placid, New York. Hi, everybody. Glad you are along for this one. The women's skeleton is complete, and the World Cup standings change a little bit. Elizabeth Yarnold tacks on to her lead and now has 860 points. Shelley Rudman, the reigning world champ from Great Britain, finishes a little bit lower in the standings, and she now has 688 points. Anya Huber in third, and Noelle Picus-Pace, who comes away with a bronze here in Lake Placid after a little bit of an upset in that silver position, is down in fifth in World Cup standings as it stands right now. We'll now go down to the finish line just across from our position here for the flower ceremony, and you see your top three. Elizabeth Yarnold from Great Britain with the time of 56.27 coming away away with the gold. Janine Flock finishes with the silver in that second spot. And the American, Noelle Pikus-Pace, who led for a short time before being overtaken by Yarnold and Flock, finishes with the bronze. Here's a look back at what we saw from Elizabeth Yarnold.
Lizzie with a fantastic run, not a flawless run, but she was so far out ahead at the start that really gave her a lot of time to work with down the track. You'll notice here coming up through curve 17, that little tap on the exit. Solid run for this crazy shake-up race here in Lake Placid.
So Elizabeth Yarnold comes away with your gold. You saw her run there, and let's send it down now to the finish line where John Morgan has all three, Elizabeth, Noelle, and Janine. John?
Okay, interviews down here. An historic medal for Austria. Janine Flock, the first ever medal for women's skeleton in Austria. Do you think this will help the sport in Austria?
yeah, of course, this helps because it's the last time it was for me really good to slide and I have fun, and I think for Austria it's very good that we make a medal, and I hope the next races are also good. Merry Christmas, good present. Thank you. Congratulations. Now we're to Noelle Pikus-Pace, second, the first second of the year, Noelle. You're third. I'm sorry, I'm third, I went the wrong direction, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm third, sorry about that. So Noelle, you're third place, first non-gold or disqualified of the year, but you've got to be still happy with the result.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. You know, going into this season, I just wanted top threes wherever I went, and so far I've been doing that, and I'm just trying to build into Sochi. That's really where it all counts. So I'm thrilled, and these girls did an excellent job. I mean, Lizzie has an awesome push, so it's hard to catch her on the way back down. So it's just great to be out here in Lake Placid. Congratulations, Lizzie Yarnold. You know, now you won your second gold medal in 4 events. Great North American stop for you.
Yeah, it's not a bad Christmas for me, I don't think, this year. I'm just so happy sliding. The Black Rock sleds are fast sleds, thanks to UK Sport and everyone at Lottery Funding. But I've got a great team, Andy Schmidt and Danny making my push super fast and then getting on a super fast sled as well, you know. Can't be bad. So 4 podium finishes. Well, great end of the 2013 season. Ladies, good luck in 2014. Merry Christmas.
And that does put a button on the 2013 season, per se, for the skeleton racers. Elizabeth Yarnold. Lizzie, the 25-year-old, comes away with another gold. Noelle Pikus-Pace, the American, finishes in 3rd, but continues her streak of finding podiums in this sport. She has been on fire and will carry that over into the Olympic Games that are set to get kicked off in Sochi. But a big win for Janine Flock, the Austrian, who comes away with the first ever World Cup medal for Austria in skeleton. For Bree Shaw, I'm Nick Gismondi, saying so long from Lake Placid.